indicators, the more the better, can also mean Eastern and Western technical techniques. Okay, by the way, this is what happens when first cousins intermarry. This is an article, cover story, Active Trader magazine did about me a few years ago. And they actually asked me to write an article, but I didn't have time, so it's a lot easier to do an interview. So they came up with the title, which is, I'm really glad because I talked about the importance of Western technicals, and so that's why the title is Helping East Meets West. And this is something we've touched on before, this combination of candlesticks and Western indicators. And people may not be aware of this. You know, I mentioned this in my seminars, but a lot more people have read my books than have attended my seminars, so a lot of people aren't aware that although I revealed candlesticks to the West in the 1980s, I've been using Western technicals since 1974. So I have over 30 years experience with Western technicals. And I use a combination of, I'm just as familiar with Western technicals. I've done whole seminars for institutions on Western technicals, in addition to candles. It's funny, speaking of that, I did a seminar, Morgan Stanley, this was years ago, before the merger. And I did a lot of stuff for their educational department. You know, they'd have their prop traders, or their, actually I did some neat seminars for their quants also. And so they wanted me to do a seminar on Western technicals and a second seminar on candlesticks. Then they found out that the first seminar was going to be on Western technicals. Then they found out that they were going to have a trading challenge after my first seminar. I was just one of some in-house speakers. So the head of the training department, who already knew about my seminar, said, okay, they're actually going to be trading after your first seminar. Let's switch it around. Let's do candles first and the Western technicals after. So I found that interesting. But it's that combination of candles and Western technicals that's really important. So with that in mind, we're going to look at the candlestick screener. What the heck is that? We'll see. Change of polarity. Some of you may be familiar with this. These are some of my favorite Western charting techniques. Crack and snap. And these are, you could use these in Forex and non-Forex also. Falling off the roof. Price targets. We'll go through this step by step, so don't worry about, hold off on any questions. Oscillators, we'll touch a little bit on that. Bollinger Bands, which I really like. Fibonacci retracements. Okay, this is more in the FX market. Okay, the equity seminars I do, not many people, not nearly as high a percentage as in the FX market. It's very popular. Okay, and record sessions. Okay, this is something that works really well. This is a candlestick technique that works really well to gauge if the market's overbought or oversold. So let's start with a confluence of candles. Here we looked at this a little bit before, a combination of if we have more than one candlestick line confirming another. So here we have a hammer and a bullish engulfing pattern confirming the hammer. But it's this combination of east and west. So the market, if this was a bar chart, wouldn't we have this? The market's going from a downtrend to the same support area to higher lows. So just as you would draw a trend line on a bar chart, you draw the trend lines on a candlestick chart. You can draw the angle of descent. So on the left side, the market made lower lows and the same lows, stabilizing, and then higher lows.
Usually when it's a bearish market, I used to use the higher highs points to draw the line.
Okay.
The lows and lows.
Right. What I'm showing, what Young's saying is, when a bearish market, he's connecting the highs. Yes, to make a falling resistance line, you draw the higher highs. What I'm showing here is just showing the market's making lower lows. So we're going from the market's going from lower lows to what's happening to the lows. It's kind of stabilizing, right, and then higher lows. Now, keep in mind, most of the trend lines you saw today, and we'll see later on, are horizontal support and resistance lines. I don't place much emphasis on angled trend lines. Young was mentioning like a falling resistance line. I will look at that, but I don't place much, as I mentioned, I don't place much importance on them because I can give 10 people a chart and I can ask them to draw angled trend lines. I'll get 10 different answers. If you ask me to draw horizontal, where are the major highs and major lows, and draw horizontal support and horizontal resistance, we're all going to be looking at the same thing. So that's why I really emphasize horizontal support and resistance. Examine how the market acts at support or resistance. And the reason for that is because we want to get ways of getting the probability on our side. Okay. What we're doing today is using the candlesticks, and I'm showing now to combine candles with Western technicals to help get the odds more in our favor. Okay, the better the odds are, the more successful we'll be. And speaking of better odds and more successful, look how flush I am, right? Now, how do we get those higher probability trades? By using what I call my candlestick screener. And what this is we're going to use candlesticks at support or resistance to screen for the best probability trades. So we're going to be looking for horizontal support or resistance. We could use trend line, angle trend lines, it's less important, but specifically horizontal support or resistance, and then seeing if the candlesticks are giving us any signals that the prior trend is losing momentum. Is the market at resistance? Well, let's say I have. Would we say it broke resistance? No. I mean, it's above the lower band of resistance. But would we want to? If we think it broke resistance, would you want to buy on that? No. Okay, so it did not break the resistance. It broke the bottom end of resistance band. It didn't break the resistance. But are there any reversal signals yet? Okay, there's a lot of the literature I had translated related a lot to trading. It's like going into battle. So the Japanese use a lot of samurai sayings, military analogies, and one samurai saying is, "Do not attack crack troops." Okay. Would we attack from the short side here? Should we be attacking from the short side? No. All right. Okay. They also say look for vulnerabilities in your opponent. Okay. Okay. Any vulnerabilities now?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we could think about initiating a short position because the candlestick screener, the two things you're asked is the market at support or resistance? Notice how I use resistance area here. And are there any signs the market's losing momentum? There's no way I would even think about selling here or maybe lightening up a little bit on longs, but ever so marginally. It's this candlestick signal that shows us the force of the market, the force of the bulls are losing steam. If this happens to be a Harami, I don't know if it's quite a shooting star. If this did not confirm resistance, there's no way I'd be thinking about selling short. Okay? But because it's confirming a resistance area, I would think about selling short there. Yes, sure.
When you say about the resistance and support, I use based on the e-signals or daily chart previous day, high and low and pivot points. But now what I confuse is when I look at the candlestick, I have to constantly review the charts based on the various signal algorithm. So
okay, the question, how I come up with support and resistance?
yes,
I will look at highs and lows like this, okay? Or I would also look at the candlestick signals. For example, here we have a bearish engulfing pattern on the left there, okay? But the main thing is we had a series of highs right around the same resistance area. Okay, but even if you didn't have this, even if we had the bearish engulfing pattern, and then we had that tall white candle at the bearish engulfing pattern's resistance,
yes.
all right? If there was no turning signals, I would still not want to sell short. It's a small wheel body. However you define resistance, okay, I'll define it this way or with a candlestick signal. However you define resistance, if there's no sign that the prior trend is losing steam, I would not think about initiating a position.
Thank you.
Okay, and this is, so is the market at resistance? Yes. Are there any reversal signals yet? Now there are. Yes?
So here, even though you see a reversal candle, it's still didn't touch. See, in this case, the resistance zone is like very narrow.
Mm-hmm.